Today, I want to talk about the Earth Guy and kind of the root of indie animation as a whole, as I think this project, more than anything, shows off what indie animation is and could be, and it's a show that's becoming increasingly special to me. Also, if the gay romance in this show doesn't satisfy the audience at this point, I don't know what will. This is a show you can watch for yourself for free here on YouTube or on Anitamated's channel, but while there will be spoilers in this video, I'm writing it with the intent of talking about the show with people who have not seen it yet, and maybe never will, but who are undoubtedly curious about this and other indie animated projects, so let's jump in. The Earth Guy has a fun, simple premise. It focuses on Neil, an average teenager from planet Earth who accidentally ends up at a school in outer space that caters to a bunch of different species of aliens. Because of that, Neil, our Earth Guy, gets to meet a diverse cast of sci-fi and magical beings while learning about their home planets and the politics of their different worlds. So far, no major overarching plot has revealed itself, and instead, each episode is just a slow descent into the normalization of living with a bunch of cool alien characters, with episode 4 coming out just recently. The intergalactic world is apparently constantly at war with each other, and this school helps teach people how to defend their planets and help them develop connections in the intergalactic community. The genius of the first episode is that Neil realizes that a live stream video he made of him playing a video game accidentally got taken as a serious call for help, but now that Neil knows the dangers of the greater world outside of Earth, he's determined to get through the class and help keep Earth safe with his certificate. Apparently, the Earth is the least developed of the space community, so much so that until Neil's accidental submission, humans were an unknown species. This makes Neil the most exotic person at a school full of incredibly cool multicolored aliens with superpowers, despite him really being the most average character to the rest of us. The joy of the show is that it's kind of a classic anime and sci-fi premise done by an absolute fan. You take a normal human character, put him in a world of diverse people with cool powers, and each episode becomes about seeing how these very extreme tropes interact with each other in some fun way. It's a show that's less about some big dramatic plot or mystery, but also not about nothing. It's an animated soap opera, essentially, that can take its characters to serious places when it chooses to, but for now, it's just engaging with how these characters live at the school and how their powers occasionally come into play. It's kind of like My Hero Academia with aliens instead of randomly powered superhumans, but the way the creator of the show handles the characters feels a lot more reminiscent of older anime I grew up with in the 90s. The way Anitamated's does this while also having a bit of a modern Western stroke to the work makes it feel less cringe than anime can often feel these days. My favorite character is Zav, who's more of a funny sidekick for our Earth Guy. He mostly just exists to explain things to Neil and support him, but he has all the personality you need.
Dude, what an entrance! Absolute madman.
Most of you, however, are going to love Ed. She's the dark, creepy girl, always saying the most off-putting thing, and her accent makes everything about her perfect in my opinion, and probably yours too once you get used to the show. She's the character you wish you saw more of in every single episode, the kind that ends up dominating the commercials for a show because she's more popular than the rest of the cast, despite having only a few lines in each episode.
Right before the edge of the universe, which marks the end of all existence.
Another one I have to imagine people are loving is Scarella, a pink-haired warrior princess who just keeps pulling axes out of nowhere when addressing people who insult her.
So then you've never heard of Kathoa?
And this isn't even the entire class for Neil, which itself is just one of 3 classes. I cannot express how cool it is to see all these characters in the background with such unique looks, all just in the first episode. And as the episodes go on, we've been getting to see more and more of them up close, as the series seems to want to explore all of them as actual characters with lore to discuss. Episode 2, for instance, has our main characters teaming up to try and stop Neil from getting abducted by the second years who want to haze him. Through this hunt for the first years, episode 2 becomes a big introduction for the characters in Class 2, while also exploring the growing bond of Neil's class and their cool powers as they try to defend him. Now, part of what makes these characters so fun is that the story is very much a passion project of one person, Anitamated's, who as far as I can tell is animating everything in the show herself. This isn't unheard of, as other projects like Atlas of the Stars have done this with what people would more so call studio quality, but that has led to there being no follow-up episodes yet, with the Earth Guy managing to get out 4 episodes now. This isn't a contest or anything, but what I mean to say here is that Aninimated is someone who sat down one day and took a look at what they could reasonably produce on their own in a timely fashion, and built up an entire TV series around that. The animation isn't as elaborate as in Hell of a Boss or other indie pilots, which aim to be closer to studio productions, but each episode also gets increasingly cooler animation. The beauty of this is that we get to actually watch an artist develop as an individual instead of as a team reacting to the need for profits. If you like actual independent artists and independent animation, then this is the perfect project for you because you get to see what someone is doing from the ground up, just making a project for themselves, and seeing how you can use a lot of the same tricks and techniques in order to make your own show. With that in mind, The Earth Guy is essentially the indiest of indie animation, an entire project of episodic scale that is just the exact desire of a fan of animation. This isn't filtered through what anyone else actually cares about or marketability, and instead, The Earth Guy is an example of just saying, I just want to have a show and not worry about that stuff. This was what indie animation was like on platforms like YouTube back before they became what I'd now call the indie studio era, where big production teams like Spindle Horse and Glitch are able to put out very large-scale projects with very clean production. I remember back in the day watching people make very reactive fanime. One of my favorites was called Elemental Goddess, which was just Sailor Moon's basic formula and ideas, but with characters who represented elements instead of planets. The show was animated almost entirely in Microsoft Paint before getting a little bit of use from Photoshop in later episodes, but the creator of the show, Diamond88, managed to put out multiple episodes and specials just while going to school. Despite being too Sailor Moon or really a ripoff of it, this and other fanime like it could feel like improvements due to them being literal fans of the anime genres, trying to use only the elements that appeal to them and not the elements that don't but are required for normal studio production. Without the need for a long series of about 52 episodes each season or certain standards of formula, the shows become these wild fever dreams of everything that actual fans want to see in the show, while you also get to watch an artist become increasingly talented with how they use the limitations of their resources to tell a larger-than-life story. The Earth Guy is a callback to that generation of anime and fanime, and it's sincerely just the most indie thing I've seen being made with this scale and type of story, and I can't wait to see more. One thing I think the show handles rather uniquely, even if also extremely simply, is the romance between the main character Neil and Aquello. Aquello is a prince from an aquatic planet that Neil accidentally bumps into in episode 1, and the two immediately have a meet-cute situation, with them continuing to bump into each other in future episodes. There's nothing special about this meeting, at least any more so than them being crazy different species in an intergalactic alien school, but that's kind of what makes it work so well. I would never accuse a show like Hell of a Boss of going too hard with its LGBT themes, but in a pantheon of animated shows with strong LGBT characters, The Earth Guy ends up being a reminder of the simplicity of just letting two people love each other without making their relationship about that identity. More drama could be on the horizon for the two, but right now, the two just casually bumping into each other and having awkward little flirting tension just seems more natural than the over-the-top and out-of-the-way approach a lot of the shows and media tend to portray these dynamics these days. Aninimated seems to be a big fan of Hell of a Boss and Hazbin Hotel, as she even put out a fun little animation of the character she voices, the teacher Lundy, to one of the Hazbin Hotel songs, and if I had to guess, her interest is even more so in Vivziepop's comic Zoophobia. The comic series had a similar premise of different species going to school together, but with mythical creatures instead of aliens. Like The Earth Guy, this comic from Vivziepop also has a lot of side characters who were slowly being explored as the perspective moved outward from its starting characters, though The Earth Guy just seems much smaller in scale than that cast at this point. But don't take my word for it, go check it out for yourselves. I know some people might give up with episodes 1 or 2, but the show really starts to get fun in episodes 3 and especially 4, which I think most of you will love. This episode has the characters doing presentations on their planets, and we get to learn a lot about our main characters and what their home planets were like, setting the stage for deeper explorations of how it shaped them later. The show is cosmically funny.
I don't know. Maybe the universe just hates me.
And Aninimated knows her characters so well that whatever premise she gives an episode just becomes a fun sequence of exploiting the characters' personalities for comedic effect in a way that most anime can't attempt without being cringe these days. Her project really is just one of the indiest of the indie animated series, being the unfiltered desires of what fans like about the basic formula that she has employed here to create a fun cast to explore. But if you want to watch it, check out the playlist with all of the episodes, or go straight to episode 4 if you want to get to the good part and get yourself hooked. See you guys next time.